The Someone You Should Know podcast with Rick Anthony, sponsored by Summarize. Repurpose podcasts, webinars, and interviews for social media, websites, and email with the help of AI, all thanks to the help of Summarize. Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. This time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, we cross the pond and bring you a talented musician from the United Kingdom. He's known for his dedication to crafting songs to chase melodies, harmonies, and clever rhymes. His band is the Coosticks, and the mastermind behind the band is my guest this time, Graeme Wey. How you doing, Graeme? Glad to have you on the show, man.
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for having me.
I got to ask you, what was your why for becoming a musician? What inspired you?
Ooh, I would imagine it would be sitting with my dad when I was about 5 years old on the sofa, and being the age I am, he would record it on tape. Mm-hmm. So he'd record people like the Beatles and Rod Stewart, and I don't know if you know Andy Fairweather Low.
Yep, sure do.
Stuff like that, 10cc, people like that. Mm-hmm. And I just listened to all those songs and took them in, and they lodged in my DNA somewhere. And I think my need for melody probably comes from those bands. So I think that's where it came from. I was hooked from the minute I heard all those bands.
Wonderful.
So.
And how old were you at that time? 5, you say?
I reckon about 5.
Five or so? Okay.
We grew up in London, so it was our house in London.
Oh, very good. Origins of the band named the Coosticks. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I was in a covers band, and we were in a car, and we were driving somewhere after a gig, and we hadn't really come up with a proper name. I think we'd had a name. I can't remember what the first name was, but then just out the top of my head, it literally came like a flash. I just said, "Why don't we call ourselves Coosticks?" And the whole band said no. And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." And I kept it for myself. And just when I came to do my solo stuff, I decided to use it. And it's obviously a play on acoustic guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
That acoustic word. But people don't initially realise that. And then when they do, they're like, oh, so it's quite nice.
Well, that's just it. As far as, people can't spell acoustics sometimes, so it just comes out acoustics, Or Coosticks is another one, too. Oh, yeah, we got great acoustics in this room. Where's the pool table at?
There's a lot of misspellings of it as well.
Absolutely. Thank God for spell check. Now, as I said in the open, you're known for your dedication to crafting songs. Let's talk about your songwriting process. What inspires you, and how do you do your process? Are you a disciplined writer, or does it kind of fly by the seat of your pants, whatever happens, happens type thing?
Okay, so I would say, this is not in any specific order, but I would say that definitely the seasons have an effect on me. Oh. So when the summer comes, it's always too hot for me. When the spring is about to come, and in England it's never really hot anyway, so it's sort of like 5 days a year. But when the spring comes, there's definitely a point where I'll suddenly write 7 or 8 songs in the space of like a week, and then I'll have a massive break, and then it'll start again. Now that's one thing. So the seasons changing definitely have an effect on, and I write about the seasons in my songs.
Yes,
quite
you
a lot. Also, if I hear a word or a phrase and I think I can craft some kind of song around that word, I'll grab that word and then I'll go with it. Or something like a lot of songwriters, I'm sure, if something happens to me that is, serious or potent or, exciting, that invariably turns itself into a song at some point.
Very good. I also read that your lyrics often touch on the power of dreams in the creativity process. How do you harness the potency of the dreams in your songwriting, and what role do they play in shaping your music?
I think, like someone like Paul McCartney, who wakes up with a song in his head, I do that fairly often. My problem is, if I don't wake up and suddenly record it on the phone, I'll forget it. So a lot of the time I've done that and forgotten them. Another songwriter I really admire is Neil Finn from Crowded House. Mm-hmm. And his songs, his lyric writing seems to it seems to get a perfect mixture of reality and dreams in the way he writes lyrics. And I am inspired by him. I don't think I do that as well as he does it. But in terms of dreams, I think I wrote a song called Emily Dreams of Unicorns, and I wrote all the lyrics, apart from the chorus, which is Emily Dreams of Unicorns, were specific dreams I'd had. So I wrote a list of different dreams in that song. The other thing about dreams in my songs, I would say, is I try to make them slightly ambiguous sometimes so that people can get different meanings from them. And so things become dreamy simply because I'm messing around with the words to make them less reality-like, if you like. If there's a specific reason why the song exists or a specific meaning behind the song, I might try and hide it by making the words a bit more dreamlike.
Very good. You mentioned Crowded House a few seconds ago. They even had a song called "Don't Dream It's Over." So talking about dreams, that's kind of a perfect play on it right there. Yeah.
I'm just riding on his coattails. Hoping for the best.
I think you're making a pretty good headway yourself. This music is fabulous. The first song we're going to feature from Coosticks is from the volume 1 of 7 imaginary songs, a song called Without Words. What's this backstory on Without Words?
Okay, so it's you could call it a basic love song, but the main character in the song is telling his partner that they have to tell him that they love him with words in the first verse. In the second verse, because I like playing around with it, he says, "You can tell me you love me without words. You don't have to use words." So it contradicts itself from one verse to the next. Mm-hmm. But it's basically a love song about trying to get someone to communicate how they love that person.
Awesome. Very good. We're going to feature that song right now. It's Graeme Wey and Coosticks. The song is Without Words on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
Without words, actions are loud. Actions can deafen when words aren't around. But the meaning's unclear. We're only just here without words. Without words, you can get lost. You can experience without cost. But we all have to pay. You're only halfway without words. So tell me you love me as you lie here beside me. 'Cause love lacks a meaning without words. Tell me you love me as you lie here beside me. 'Cause I've not got that feeling without words, without words, without words. We can be free, just your body talking to me. It's as hot as the sun, this conversation without words. Without words, the space between, the most beautiful place that I've been. As the silence resolves, when the space dissolves without words. So tell me you love me as you lie here beside me. Yes, tell me you love me without words. Give me a feeling that's burning with meaning, one that leaves me reeling. Give it to me without words, without words, without words. Things we've said rolling round my head. They mean something, they mean nothing. They take form, they're evolving, they're dissolving like the space between us. I need you, 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 I need you. I really do need you to tell me you love me as you lie here beside me. Yes, tell me you love me without words. Give me a feeling that's burning with meaning, one that leaves me reeling. Give that to me without words, without words, without words.
Wonderful music. The band is Coosticks. That's Graeme Wey. He is our guest on the Someone You Should Know podcast. The song is called Without Words. Got more great music from Graeme coming up here in just a second. But first, I want to say thanks so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast. We're found on the web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. If you go there, you'll see our over 180 episodes and a whole lot more. We've got recent news, like I said, the archive of episodes. And if you happen to be visiting, we invite you to leave us a review. It helps us out big time. Now, according to Buzzsprout, the service that shares us to all the streaming platforms, we are so incredibly blessed to reach over 2,200 cities in over 90 countries around the world. A couple of you want to salute this time include Tulsa, Oklahoma, Montpelier, Vermont, Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, and Mansfield in the United Kingdom. The Someone You Should Know podcast, heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. Hi, it's Rick again for Summarize. Summarize repurposes your content from audio and video into engaging, shareable social posts, email content, summaries, quotes, and more. Hey, it's hard work to create high-quality content from podcasts and video content. Summarize gives you multiple types of content to support your marketing channels, from social media posts and email newsletters to show summaries and a whole lot more. As a matter of fact, if you go there today, you can upload up to 60 minutes for free and find out why I like it so much. Go to summarize.com to learn more. That's SUMMARAIZE.com. Thanks for listening, and now back to our podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We are talking this time to Graeme Wey of the band Coosticks. He's our podcast guest this time. You say one of your goals is to build a community around your music. How would you do that? So what's your vision for this community?
One of the ways of building a community is to be playing live every second of every day, which isn't practical for me because of the day job sort of thing. But I think we're going to touch on the artwork at some point, but I'm hoping that people will buy into the fact that I try and create a visual side to the band as well as an audio side, and I hope that people buy into all of it. And sort of, if people are into art as well as or creativity in general, they'll appreciate the fact that I try and make everything a certain quality. I'm quite hard on myself when it comes to producing the songs. But the way of building a community is to get the music to as big an audience as possible, ideally in the easiest way possible. And I don't think it is easy. It's difficult most of the time. So basically just trying loads of different avenues to try and spread the word and get the word out there. I mean, I've got a mailing list which is starting to grow.
Awesome.
And I regularly ramble about music or what's going on with the music at the time. Sometimes just related to music, but not to me. Like I had a week where I wrote about Within You, Without You on Sgt. Pepper's because it was I felt it was a really important track in the middle of the album. So yeah, there's the mailing list and just trying to spread the word. We did a fairly prominent gig recently at a local arts centre and had a really amazing reaction from everybody.
Love hearing that, man.
So it's a case of trying to get people to react to that and stay with us afterwards, you know, in whichever way I can do it. Absolutely,
yeah. To get that longevity going, that's the important thing as far as a lot of people will see for a weekend. It's like, well, will they know me the next week, in the following week, and the following week, and there beyond? Yeah. Besides being a great musician, you've been described as a freelance fop by Tom Hodgkinson, which is suggests your independence of style. How do you embrace the identity as far as that goes? Are you a bit of a clothes horse, or what's the story?
Freelance fop. It was a joke that somebody came up with somewhere. My friend Roger, actually, I think, came up with it. But then I'm in a covers band with my friend Ian, and we call ourselves the Fop Tarts.
Fop? I love it.
Yeah. And I think it was just off the back of Roger making these jokes about a fop. I don't know where the foppish thing came from. I think Tom Hodgkinson was actually talking about it.
Yeah.
And I then adopted the name because I just thought it was funny. So on the actual Coosticks website, there's a little bit about me being a fop, which I'm not sure I'm that much of a fop. I mean, I've got a ruff, like an old 18th century thing that the royals used to wear. Well, everybody used. And for the picture of the fop, I wore that and some silly jacket. And, you know, if I spent more time on it, I'd probably buy quite outlandish clothes if I could.
You got such beautiful clothes, like going to Soho or something like that. Just so much.
Yeah.
That's one. Matter of fact, that's one spot that Leslie and I are looking forward to going to this summer. She says she has this thing for stage clothes. I don't know what it is, but she really absolutely loves that stuff. The next song we're going to feature on the podcast is from Volume 2 of 7 Imaginary Songs, You Are the Sea. What a great song. What is this backstory on this song?
This is a good example of a dreamlike song where I came up with the idea of just using the elements to describe being in love with someone. So it's pretty much totally fabricated, which I don't want to disappoint anyone with that. But it is kind of a sort of made up sort of dreamlike thing to just take the elements and just describe someone through the elements, sort of the sea and the air and the sky, and hopefully convince that person how much I love them.
Absolutely. It's like telling a blind person what the color orange is like, you know. It's kind of like that as far as that goes. What a great song too. We're going to feature that right now. Coosticks. This is You Are the Sea. Graeme Wey is our guest, and here it is right now on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
You explode like the waves. You are a typeface that appears through all my days. You are the clouds. You are dreamy and soft. You are a bomb that might just go off. You are the breeze in the shimmering heat. You are the melody over the beat. You are the sun in a strawberry haze. You are the vision of glory days. You are the fall that wraps around me. One day soon we will all be free. You are the storm about to break. You are the kiss that keeps me awake. You are my favorite track sheds with a kiss, between the hit and the miss, between the joke and the jibe, between vibration and vibe, between the angle and the poise, between the silence and the noise, between the sheets and the skin, between the sinner and the sin, beyond the clouds of reasonable doubt, between the mother and the clown, between the ringtone and the call, between the rise and the fall, between the armor and the chink, between the angel and the blink, between the sky and me. You are the sea. You are the sea. You are the sun. You are the clouds. You are the one. You are the sky. You are the fall. You are everything. You are all. You are the sea. You are the sun. You are the clouds. You are the one. You are the sun. You are the one for me. You are the sea.
That is Coosticks. The song is You Are the Sea. Graeme Wey is our guest this time. Besides being a talented singer and songwriter, you are also an incredible artist, and I understand that you've created gig posters for nearly 500 shows. And they all differ, is that correct? They're all different, 500 different?
Yeah.
Wow, where does this creativity come from?
In conjunction with me being musical, I also worked in print and design for 30 years. And lockdown meant that I worked from home for the first time in my life, and I liked it so much, the thought of not going back into an office, that after lockdown, I didn't go back into an office. I've never been to an office since, because it never really suited me. But I was doing creative stuff in a professional sense in that way. And then I was talking to friends, and they said, you should do a gig poster for each one you do. And I thought it was a great idea. It was another outlet to be creative, and one where I can just go crazy a little bit. And I just did it. I just started from a certain point and have done a poster for every gig. So I think I'm on 470 something.
Wow.
So if I do
sometime this year, sometime this year you'll hit 500, right?
Yeah. Hopefully be on 500. Yeah.
Awesome.
And it stretches the t-shirt I'm wearing. Coosticks t-shirt.
I love it.
So yeah. Awesome. So I do try and sort of be artistic wherever I can.
Awesome.
with the sort of merchandise stuff and publicity stuff with Coosticks. Yeah.
Now tell us a little bit more about the band as far as that goes. You play what role, and who helps you out, if any?
I for a while played solo, and I think it was it the summer of last year I did my first gig as a 5-piece. So I had my friend Ian on guitar, my friend Hope, who I'm in other bands with them as well, like covers bands and stuff. So it crosses over quite a lot. So there's Ian on guitar, there's Hope on piano, keyboards and vocals, Mark on bass, and Robin on drums. And we've done, I reckon, since last summer, we've done 7 or 8 gigs, and we've got quite a reaction, because when I'm doing my songs on acoustic guitar, when I'm on my own, it's usually just me and the acoustic guitar. But the noise that we make as the 5 of us is pretty huge when we want it to be, and it does really kind of take people by surprise, I think, and they really react positively to it. So if there's any way of me sort of playing more and more gigs as the 5-piece, we'll do it, because people really respond positively to it. So.
Now, your artwork, where can we see it at? What social media do you have it on?
Now, I always put the new gig posters on Facebook, so you'll always find them on Facebook. There is a gallery on the website but it's not quite up to date. There's probably 20 or so that need updating. So you can find it on the website or on Facebook.
All right.
If you trawl through Coosticks Facebook, you'll definitely find loads of artwork.
We'll include that in the show notes so everyone can check it out. And that way, because it's some very, very interesting stuff from what I was able to see just from the website itself. Let me ask you, what was your high water mark today? What would you say has been the high water mark of your career, Coosticks, or even before?
I really enjoy any sort of musical endeavour. So, there's a program on Disney Plus, Get Back, the Beatles, where it shows the Beatles in rehearsal, and it's a lot of stuff of them sitting around and just chatting and stuff. And I genuinely enjoy rehearsing with my friends that I'm in the band with as much as I do playing live. It's a different animal, obviously, but any musical sort of anything that I do musically that I get a chance to do, I realise how lucky I am to do it, firstly, and secondly, how much I enjoy it. But I think in terms of a high watermark, the gig that I mentioned earlier at the Arts Centre in January, it's a night specifically for bands that people don't really know, and I think there was my wife and sister-in-law and my friend and another friend, so there was 4 or 5 people who knew who we were in there, and there was maybe about 120 people in there.
Oh, wonderful.
Maybe. And none of the rest of them knew who we were. And by the end of it, the reaction was just overwhelming from them, how many people came up to us and told us how much they enjoyed it. And so we obviously, and as I was playing the gig, it was like 40 minutes long. And I reckon about 15 minutes in, I could just see it on their faces. I could see that they were reacting in a way that's like, wow, we've discovered something here that is really amazing. And it felt really, really good. And the third song that I've given you is, we played that song in the middle of the set. And I think that was the point where I thought, we have won the audience over, because I could just see in their faces as I was singing it. I was like, wow, they're ours, you know? We in the nicest possible way, we control this audience right now.
It is such a wonderful thing is when you actually connect with the audience. There's a lot of people just get out there and they just play their music and they just don't really engage. And the audience, you feel the vibe off the audience. If you wind up getting that energy off, you wind up playing better, because these people have never heard your music before. Even if you think that you've blown a line or something from a lyric or something like that, you just keep playing. Now people know it's just one of those things. You're always introducing yourself. You've always got to make a good first impression. And I think, there you go. That's great.
I think I'm in danger of rambling sometimes here as well, but also when I'm on stage, sometimes I ramble a bit too much between songs. But I think they really responded to that as well. There were certain points I had to kind of say how much I was enjoying it and stuff, so I rambled a little bit. But I think they responded to that as well. And it is again, I think that's probably a thing that comes, one, naturally, but two, perhaps from Crowded House again, because I've seen Crowded House live a lot, and they do love to have a little chat to the audience and just get a bit of banter going. And I really enjoy that too. It's just so much fun. It's pointless just standing there and singing the songs and not saying anything.
You're right. Yeah, there's a lot of
there's people in front of you, so you want to talk to them, don't you?
Absolutely. That's what the live thing is all about. Years and years ago, my late wife and I used to manage bands, and anyone could do anything in the studio as far as that goes, because you've got so much trickery in the studio you can do. But seeing a band live and seeing how they interact with the audience and such has always been my big thing. Pulling it off live is one thing, but engaging with the audience is another thing. I want an entertainer on stage. I don't want just a musician on stage, because there's so many people who are just introverted and just, I'm afraid to talk to them. They'll actually turn their back to the audience and play to their amps. I've seen that before too,
Yeah. I don't mind if a band does that, if someone's that nervous. But there's, I'm not going to name anybody, but there are certain acts I've seen where they did the songs and they looked like they specifically couldn't be bothered to talk to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was.
I've seen gigs where I'll never forget. I saw an artist I really and truly wanted to see. Looks like he went when they were doing an instrumental break. He went to hit the piano and picked up his cell phone and started thumbing through it like you didn't even want to be there. It's like, well, geez, you doing checking your stocks? Did you get a call from your dealer, or what's going on here?
It's fun. should say that because Ian, he's got some of the presets to his amp are on his phone. So at certain points, people might have thought he was doing that when he looked at his phone, but he was actually getting up preset for the next sound, the next song. So.
What are the latest football scores? Yeah. Who scored a goal?
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, you talked about your high water mark. Let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. This is called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous road stories where things didn't go quite as planned. Think Spinal Tap. Think the movie Spinal Tap. What would you say would be maybe your Tales from the Road, Graeme?
I have one that is positive,
okay.
Even though it really didn't seem like it would be.
Mm-hmm.
For the last couple of years, I've done a thing called the Ventnor Fringe, which is on the Isle of Wight, which is the Isle of Wight's at the very bottom of England, and that's where I grew up. So I do love to go back there because I see it as sort of a spiritual home to me. I love the Isle of Wight, and I love being there. And I've always wanted to play music there, and the last few years I have done, and it feels really special when I play live there. So it's a kind of art and creativity festival called Ventnor Fringe, and I've done it for the last 2 years, and they've got a really lovely bandstand there that I went and played on both years. But last year, I played on the bandstand. I had another gig down the road, and obviously, it being the British summertime, it started pouring with rain, and I was supposed to be singing outside. So it was like, well, that's that one out the window because it was almost perfect time. I walked up the road. It was a church, and it was outside at the church, and there's a big lorry, and there was a tiny little stage next to the lorry attached to it, which was quite pretty, and it was nicely painted and stuff. And it was just pouring. There were seats there, and all the seats were soaking wet. Nobody was in the churchyard. But to the right of the lorry was a bus, and these people were standing at the end of the bus, the people who owned it, and it had a little kind of entryway bit, just a little foyer bit, if you like. That's probably not what you call it. And I said, is it okay if I come on the bus for a second and just stay out the rain? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Well, come on in and have a look. And I realised when I walked on that it was a bookshop. It was a beautiful French bus, and it was just full of books. And there were like 7 seats in there and stuff like that. And when they realised I had the guitar, I kind of explained I was supposed to be playing on the stage. They said, well, you're very welcome to play in here if you want. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, brilliant, thank you. So I walked to the back of the bus, and I stood there, and I was supposed to be doing like 40 minutes on the stage, I think. And I think I was there for like an hour and 10 minutes in the bus.
Awesome.
And people came in from the rain, and they sat and read a book and listened to me play for like an hour and 10 minutes.
I love it.
And it was just one of the beautiful places to actually be playing music, surrounded by books and this beautiful sort of old vintage bus. And I decided, once I did that, I thought I'd really love to play unusual places. And with that in mind, I've actually booked to play on a narrowboat in July this year.
Oh, you're kidding!
So I'm going to drive up the country a little bit. It's called the Narrowboat Sessions, and they have various musicians going, and they book them in for, I think, 20 or so different dates. And I'm doing one of those this year, so that'll be another quite unusual place to play.
I love it,
and it was all thanks to. It was raining in England, as it always does.
There you go. Hey, you're getting inspirations. You wake up with songs in your head, or you wind up with this idea that, you got to watch out. There's always paths that are leading you. You just got to sometimes take the blind faith and just go ahead and follow that path.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to wrap up the show with another great song. This is from an EP called The Island, and it's called Carnival of Blue. What is the story on Carnival of Blue? This is a great song.
Okay, yeah, this is, like I said earlier, we're doing this with the band, and it is having quite an effect on people when they hear it live. Basically, I had a really bad day with an employer, and I think in the lyrics it says a very bad morning, and it was a very bad morning. This employer was a bit of a monster, and it had got to a point where he was shouting and swearing at all the staff and being horrible to them, and I walked out soon after he did that to us all, and then went home and felt pretty horrendous. I was like, oh, I haven't got a job. What am I going to do? And all that. And the fact that he'd had a go at me, I'm not very good at confrontation at the best of times. But as always happens, if something sort of, like I said earlier, if something potent happens to me, invariably a song's going to come out at some point. And I wrote Carnival of Blue. and it's not really. It has elements of that day in it, but it's not really about that. So the minute this is a good example. When I came up with the words "Carnival of Blue," it just opened up this whole dreamlike world of wow, what is the Carnival of Blue? And then just wrapped all these words around it. And when I came up, I don't even remember coming up with the tune, but when I listen to it now, I think, wow, I'm really pleased that was a good day, that one. Came out of a bad day.
Graeme, you are definitely an individual who could take lemons and make lemonade. You are just really a talented individual to overcome it. You're actually an inspiration, that you should be like a public speaker about, hey, listen, you're having a crappy life. Look what I did. And, as far as that goes. And that's just it, man.
Well, if someone can invite me to do that, then maybe.
I got to tell you, you got a knack for it, my friend. And I wish you well with everything that you got going on here. I want everyone to check out the show links for all the information, the socials, where you can see them if you happen to be going to England, like I am. Maybe we might hook up with you while we're over there this summer.
That would be brilliant.
Well, God's blessings to you, my friend. Thank you so very much for being another part of our growing family here on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
I saw you lying. I saw you dying. I saw you crying in a carnival of blue. Life can be hollow. It's hard to swallow. Beg, steal or borrow from a carnival of blue. There was a time when we thought happiness more or less existed. There was a
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.